I am for more grassroots government. Not only in America, where more grassroots government is needed, but all over the world where more grassroots government may be needed far more than it is needed in America. But there is a need in the world that people are not used to facing for a grassroots government in which the people involved, the voters, the ordinary citizens, vote on the big issues. In America specifically, we saw recently in 2013 why we need for the people to have to vote on a big issue like declaring war. In World War II, Hitler declared war, and Japan declared war by bombing Pearl Harbor, and later on formally declared war. The point was, when people declare war, or a nation declares war on another nation, there is no choice. There is nothing to do but to fight back. But on the other hand, when it is what is called a police action, but it really means the possibility of starting a war, if the people are going to have to be in a war in which their children may be shot or their taxes may have to pay for, the people have a right to make that decision. In violation of a rule of international warfare in Syria in 2013, the president at that time was going to drop bombs, that is, declare war, the possible war, and he was going to do this without approval of the people, without approval of Congress if necessary, and he said without approval of the United Nations. Now what this boils down to is dictatorial rule in which one man, one judgment makes a decision and the nation is dragged along. In the case in Syria, the president drew back and reconsidered being a one-man government band. But what if he had not done so? He had not drawn back and reconsidered under pressure from the international community. What if he had been alone in carrying out what seems to us to be bad judgment because he was doing it alone? In this case, it ought to be obvious. We cannot leave decisions like this to politicians who may or may not have bad judgment. In this case, the politician had enough good judgment to draw back. But what if we had had one with bad judgment who had not drawn back? The people need to vote where there is a risk of war. And if we are considering actually declaring war, naturally the people should be allowed to vote. But even if there is going to be violence and perhaps only a risk of war, the people should have a vote. After all, who can guarantee that there is going to be no war following an act of violence? There is a vital difference in being attacked by an enemy and attacking a government or a situation that seems to be an enemy. Once again, let the people have a voice. And I don't mean just a congressional voice, because you and I both know when Congress is not gridlocked or is gridlocked or whatever, we cannot depend on Congress to do much but play politics. The people need to be heard. Henry David Thoreau said, simplify, simplify. And we need to simplify government because it is getting out of hand. It needs some control. The politicians are not going to do it. The politicians are going to continue spending. There are so many agencies of the American government, directly and indirectly created, one created by the other, that it is extremely difficult to tell how many agencies we have or to give any figures on what the cost is. That is what I mean. The politicians often lack the power to discipline government or themselves. The people will, the people can. And it is the common sense discipline of the people that we need. And this is best done by a vote of the people. Now, on my right here is a bust of Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson would have trusted the vote of the people. Of course, there are people who say they do not trust the people. They want politicians to decide it for them. Well, I say the people will do better on big issues by themselves. And if the people are not given a chance to vote on this, they have every right to complain. Simplify government. Let the people vote on big issues and rule. This is now technologically possible. If you will remember, on your phone, you can touch some of the phones and it recognizes your fingerprint. We are living in a technological age where many marvels in voting can take place that 200 years ago were not possible. In the age of horses and sailing ships, if you remember, the Battle of New Orleans was fought 2 weeks after the war was over because communications were so poor. We now have a chance in a national referendum or a national vote on big issues to give the people the true democracy that was not possible several hundred years ago. So let us work for more grassroots democracy, more democratic voting of the people, not only in America, but all over the world.